Welcome back to another video. It's Friday, and you know what that means?
Half term!
No. Well, yeah, but it's time for Top Fuel Teachers.
So Adi, I hear you've made some massive progress with the WRC.
Oh, Chris, it is massive progress. After 4 years plus off the road, me and two of the students on Friday, we got it running. So, yeah.
It lives.
It lives. So we can now massively go further. We can do a cam belt water pump like I want it to. Now we know it runs, and it runs all right. We'll hear it in a few minutes. But yeah, let's talk about how I got it, or how we got it running. So when this came into the academy this time, the electrics were totally dead. We know it's got a lot of wiring issues, maybe. But yeah, the electrics were totally dead. We had nothing at all. We put a battery on it first off and tried starting it just to see if it would turn over. We didn't think it'd start. And it didn't even turn over. So we stopped there, really. When we got a bit more time, we looked into it. We found that the button wasn't connected on one of the wires, because it was push button start. So we connected that and we got it turning over, which was great, but it wouldn't fire. So common thing on Fords, Focuses, Fiestas, is if they're left for any period of time, the fuel pump seizes in the tank. So the next thing we tried was we got under the wiring, because you've got to take the tank down to get the fuel pump out. So we spliced into the wiring to check, and we tried livening the fuel pump up, and it wasn't working. So the students then took the fuel tank down, and we had a look. The fuel was absolutely awful, because it's like over 4 years old. And once again we tried the pump, and there was nothing. So we took the pump out of the tank, tried it on the bench again. We put the wires directly to it, and the pump was seized. So we knew that was obviously one of the things we need to get going and get working again before we can go any further, trying to find out what's wrong with it. So we got a new fuel pump for it, and we fitted it. Originally we were going to take the fuel pump out of our other Focus, but the ST170 and the normal day-to-day Focuses, they run a different type of fuel system, so it wouldn't have worked. So we had to get a new fuel pump for it. We fitted it, we tested it, fuel pump now worked, so we drained all the old stale stagnant fuel out of the tank, fitted the new pump and sender unit back in the tank, and put the tank back up. So we knew then we were further on the way to getting it going. That's one more thing off the list that we need to check. Then when we turned the ignition on, we could hear the fuel pump prime, so that was all good. There we had a quiet Friday with just two students, well, 4 students, 2 each. And my two students, we're going to do an engine basic engine diagnosis and that lessons. So there's four things you need really for a petrol engine to work. This is what we went through with the students. 1 is fuel, 2 is spark, 3 is compression, engine won't run without compression, and then 4 is timing. It all needs to happen at the right time, otherwise it won't start. So we connected the booster pack up to it, got it turning over. Like I said, the fuel pump was priming, which was good, but when you're turning it over, the fuel pump should work again, and it wasn't. So then we started looking. Unfortunately, because of some of the wiring issues this has got, we couldn't plug into the OBD port, onboard diagnostics. We couldn't plug into there to get any live data readings up on our machine, because something's wrong with the plug and it didn't work. So we had to go properly back to basics. So we had no fuel pump, and we put our little light in line of the spark plugs, and we had no flashing on that. So we had no fuel pump running and no spark. So first thing we spoke about was what controls both of them. Obviously the ECU controls both of them, but also the crank sensor controls both of them. Now the crank sensor picks up when the engine's turning, and that tells it when to inject and when to spark. So both of them are common to the crank sensor. So we had a look and the crank sensor was connected, but we weren't quite sure about it. We had our suspicions about it. So then we went on to Autodata and we looked up, we checked, and the crank sensor, both wires from the crank sensor go straight into the ECU. So with the students, we were going through it and we checked the colours of the wires, and the Autodata said that these two wires that go to the crank sensor should be these colours. I think it was brown and red and white and red.
I believe so. Yeah.
I think so. So then we went back to the car and we looked, and the two wires that were plugged into the crank sensor weren't those colours. So then it was a case of, okay, students, let's have a look in this massive wiring. We'll show you it in a minute. Let's have a look in this massive wiring, see if we can find a similar plug with these colour wires. Within five minutes, my two students, you know who you are, both said, right, we think we found it. So that was positive. So yeah, we plugged onto the crank sensor, clipped in perfect. Normally they only fit one thing, but obviously this one's got two different plugs that both fit. So we plugged it on to the crank sensor, a bit excited. I honestly didn't expect, I expected to have more troubles with this, and I didn't expect it far up on Friday. So we plugged it in, went back, turned it over. It does turn over a little bit slow, whether that's because of a bad earth or something, I don't know, or lazy start motor, but we'll be looking at that at some point. Turned it over a few times, you could hear the fuel pump running, and then it went brrr, and it tried to fire. So I was like, oh. So I carried on firing it up for a little bit, turned it over a little bit, and then it started running on like 3 cylinders. Bit ropey, but old fuel in the fuel rail, stale, never going to work nice. After a few seconds running on 3, it came up onto 4. So it fired into life. Amazing, such an achievement on Friday that we had, and a big step in getting this ready for the show. So from there, we let it run for a little bit, not long, because we didn't have any water or radiator in it. So had it run, just made sure it ran on 4, turned it off, only a few seconds. So then it was a case of, we were all happy. So then got the students to fit the radiator, all part of the curriculum as well. So they refitted the radiator, we topped it up with water, and then we started it up again, still a little bit lumpy to start off with again. Excuse me. Started it up, and started, like I say, a little bit lumpy, but then ran. And then we had it running, left it running for a while, kept eyes on temperature gauge, kept eyes on pressure on the hoses, and it ran for quite a while, and then the radiator fan cut in. So that's absolutely amazing. No horrible noises, no massive water leaks, nothing like that. So it's a massive step for us, you know, it's absolutely a massive step for us. It's running, you know, we got it running. I genuinely didn't think, I thought we were going to have more issues than what it did have. We knew it ran, we knew it was a good engine, but I thought we were going to have more issues, but we didn't. So let's take a look under the bonnet. I'll show you that wiring that we still got to sort out, and then we'll start it up.
Oh, I think so.
We'll start it up. So let's have a look under the bonnet. So this is all the wiring that we've got to sort out. It's worse than it, no, it's not worse than it looks. It's not as bad as it looks. This loom here normally would go across the front of the car, and where are we? That's one of the headlights. So the other one should be a bit further down here. There's the other one. So that's for this headlight, that's for that one. In here you'll have things like the exterior temperature sensor, another earth, and fog light plugs as well, for when the original ST170 had fog lights. So it's not as bad as it looks. But we still do have a lot of other wiring issues to sort out with it, but it's not bad. I love wiring. I do love wiring, and a lot of people are afraid of it. Every wire only has 2 ends. Work like that, and it's a lot easier to go with. There is a plug around here. This one with the green plug. Now that's what was connected onto the crank sensor. Unusual, you'll have more than one plug that will plug onto something, because they normally alter the inside so it only plugs onto one thing. I don't know what that's for, but again, we could go back to Autodata wiring diagrams and we could find out. So I think it's either for the aircon or the power steering. So ST170 enthusiasts somewhere might watch this video and say, oh, I know what that's for. So feel free to write in the comments if you do. But we'll find it. If we need it, we'll use it. If not, we'll just leave it alone. But that's the wiring that we've got to sort out. Like I said, it just looks worse than what it is. It's all sortable, tuck it away where we need it. Like I said, that loom goes across the front and that will disappear. So, let's start it up. So first we'll turn our booster pack on. Then we'll turn the key, turn battery cutout on, and we've got dash lights, stuff like that. And then on the button, how good that sound? Still got, obviously because of all the wiring, there could be some sensors still disconnected. We've got to go over it, but this is basically, we've just got it running. So, like I said, we've got water in it. It's run up to operating temperature. Cooling fan has cut in. It's, like I say, it's a massive milestone in the evolution of this car and towards the journey of this car coming onto the road. We're trying to get it ready for June. Right now, the show that was booked for June the 9th, Octane show, which we advertise at the end of every video. Unfortunately, due to circumstances beyond everybody's control, it's now moved to June the 8th, the Saturday, and the location has changed from Wheelie Car Boot Sale Ground to Plough Corner, which is a little bit further up the road. It's a better venue, so if you need any details, comment and we'll give you all the details, but it's on the Saturday now, not the Sunday, the same weekend, and it's in a different location, but it's just a little bit further up the road. Only about a mile or two, if that, so it's not far. There could be some big names turning up at this show as well. Until they're confirmed, we will keep it secret. Also, our big news is looking closer to becoming public. So we will let you know about that as well. But this is well on its way now. As you can see in there, I don't know if you can have a look in there, we've got a bucket seat mounted, and also we've got our hydro handbrake now.
For hill starts.
For hill starts only, on a bracket. We've got to strengthen the bracket a little bit, but that's where it's going to be. So, yeah, so that's all starting to come together inside. Our lovely, lovely friend Brian, we love you Brian. After our last video on this one, where we spoke about the issues with the spoiler, he said, mate, just give it to me. So our WRC wing, Brian has got it at the moment and working his magic with it. And it will come back and it will have no issues because Brian is absolutely amazing. So we thank you on that, Brian. And he will also be painting the bumpers for us and a couple of other bits because they're a little bit awkward to wrap. So we want to try and make things easier for everybody. So this hopefully will be getting wrapped at Easter time, the main body, and Brian will be getting the other bits once he can match up the paint, and we'll be getting the other bits are painted. So at Easter, this should be wrapped. Now, because we are unveiling it at the Octane show, you're not going to see it until then. So we won't be doing any videos on how the wrap looks, or well, we'll be doing videos on when we wrap it, but they won't be released until after the Octane show. But it's going to look good. Team Dynamics also in the process of sorting some wheels for us. Matt Neal, the legend, I've been talking to him on email, honestly, proper starstruck. But yeah, so we will have new wheels on it. While I'm waffling on,
Waffle.
This is the height it's going to sit at. Now, because of the cut of the arches, it looks quite high, but believe me, it's not. It's like that. Look. It's not high. It's not. So it's just the way the WRC arches are cut. We've wound it down on the gas coilovers. So, but this is the stance we have because we're setting it up for tarmac spec. Basically, we're not going for off-road rally. Not on this one. We might do an off-road rally style car one day, maybe. Yeah. Don't know what. Have to be a Ford though, wouldn't it? So yeah. In other news, while I'm keep flipping from one thing to another, yesterday, Lee and Frankie, thank you very much, Lee and Frankie, we had a little road trip and we picked up another project. That's stored away at the moment because we need to focus. We need to focus on this one. So I don't want another project in there for me to get distracted with the students because there's so much we could do to it to start with, but we're not going to. So massive thanks to Tim, who donated us his E46 323 manual BMW. What could we do with that? So that will be, in a few months' time, our drift car project. Needs a bit of work to it. The subframe is starting to pull out the floor, which is a common thing on the E46s. So we'll strip all the inside out, we'll strip it all out underneath, fuel tank off, total cross member, everything off. We'll get the diff welded, we'll repair it all, we'll strengthen it all, and then we'll start on our drift car build with that. So students, some of the students know, and they are so excited for it. So am I actually, to be honest. We'll get a hydro in that as well. But yeah, so that'll be another project coming back into the academy, but we've got to get this one on the road first. So, like I say, massive steps, massive progress with this car, thanks to our students, you know. Just, I'm so excited. I can't wait to get this one back on the road, back on the road. So we're going to wind this video up here. So it's goodbye from Chris.
See ya!
And it's goodbye from me. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening to me waffle on and on, as normal. Hope you enjoyed the video though. Stay tuned and come back and see us next week.